Welcome to this webinar in the Nairobi Inspire Hackathon series. Today we are going to talk about traffic and learn about how to model traffic and how we can apply this traffic modeling, hopefully in Africa, in Nairobi. Before we enter into this, first of all, my name is Bente Lilja. I'm going to be your host today and guide you through this webinar that will take about 30 minutes. And if you are already registered for the Inspire Hackathon, welcome. We are happy to have you as a participant. If you are wanting to learn about the traffic modeling, welcome also. And please consider to become a participant in the Nairobi Inspire Hackathon. Before we start, for real, we want to warm up a little so that people can enter the room. And my signature is weather reports. And Dan, can you tell us where you are and what's the weather is like to start with?
Okay, hi. As said, my name is Daniel Beran. I'm sitting in office in Pilsen, fourth largest city in Czech Republic, and the weather is partially cloudy, 16 degrees of Celsius, which is perfect weather for cycling, not particularly for sitting in the office, but here I am.
Longing to benefit from the lovely spring weather, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And the same is here where I am. I'm sitting in Norway. We still have snow scattered around on the ground, but it is melting pretty fast. So we see the spring as well. It's slightly overcast, slightly sunny today. Lovely spring weather here as well. So for you who are attending this webinar, we would love for you to tell us about the weather, where you are, and then of course where you are. And this is a way of warming up the chat room. The chat room is where you can ask questions during the webinar. So you will see there's a chat. You will also see that there is a hand, which means that you can raise your hand and say you want to talk. If you have a webcam and a headset like me and a good internet connection with Chrome, I will be able to invite you into the room and you can speak and comment and ask questions directly to us here inside the webinar room. So, and we really encourage you to do that. So if you have questions about either the traffic modeling that Dan will present to you, or if you have ideas when we come to that point, there are 2 points in this webinar. First, introduction to traffic modeling, which has been done here in Europe, and then some ideas on how this can be applied to Africa, because this is all about how we can use new technology and data to improve the services and applications in and for Africa. With that, Dan, I'm excited to hear about traffic modeling. What
Okay,
can you
tell us? I'm excited to tell you. So let me switch into my presentation and turn off my camera.
Yes, we will turn off cameras, but we will reappear. So after the first presentation, you can ask questions in the chat. We will also answer some of them in between, and also of course towards the end. And yes, you are ready to go, Daniel.
Okay, great. Just in beginning, very shortly, the outline of our webinar. Swiftly, I should be able to tell you about the Spur Traffic Modeler, which is the tool that we are currently using for modeling traffic in projects in Europe. Then there will be a short break for your questions. Then I would like to tell you about the work plan for the Africa Hackathon, and then we would discuss team organization, and if the time will allow us, I will show you a live preview of the STM app, which is live at this moment. At least it's beta version, and you can access it in your web browsers. All right, let's start with the Spur Traffic Modeler and what is it good for, and why did we develop it? It's a tool for effective traffic management, which might allow cities to model what-if analysis. Currently, when city would like to know like to know the answer to question, what would happen if we would close this road? What would happen if we would close only one lane? What would happen if there would be no new mall built or new city blocks built? And stuff like that. They usually have to create this question and then ask a traffic engineer, which it can take him several hours or several days to input these variations, create a new traffic model in desktop application, then send map or some statistic to the city official. We would like to make this more swiftly, so we would allow the city or region officials to actually do the traffic modeling in Chrome applications, actually in web applications, sorry, without the need to have broad knowledge about traffic modeling and without having desktop software. This, of course, doesn't take out traffic engineers out of the equation. We are working with them on this solution, and traffic modeling experts are, of course, involved in developing this software. I know that some of you probably are not super familiar with how traffic modeling works, so I'd like to show you on this slide how it might look. So what you need is, of course, topologically correct traffic network with so-called traffic generators called network zones on this slide, which serve as places that simulate where and from cars are actually going, or people with cars are going. This allows you to calculate so-called orientation destination matrix, which can be then split into different ways of transporting within a city or within the region that you're running the simulation. Very important part is then after the traffic model is calculated to calibrate it with real measured data. And once you have that, you have a working traffic model that can be actually used. A little bit about the architecture of Spark Traffic Modeler. You will see a similar diagram during this webinar that actually shows the architecture of during the hackathon. But either way, we need data that are usually processed in desktop GIS software. Then they are saved in spatial database. After that, they are processed by the Spark Traffic Modeler, which runs on a server, and then via STM API, it's then pushed forward to web graphic user interface. This slide should show you what is already implemented and what is still waiting to be implemented. So we already implemented that you can edit road capacity or road speed, and that can, of course, very much change how the cars behave on that particular road segment. And there are some other features that we would like to implement later on. You can read through them if you're interested. They're also described as this in the GitHub wiki that I already sent you a link via email. But it's not that important, but I think that it should be, it's good to mention that we are not in the final stage. We are still working on this solution. And this is just for illustration. This is a small snapshot from city of Pilsen, and this is how the outcome from the Spark Traffic Model looks like if you close one of the roads. But I would like to show this to you live at the end of the webinar. All right, I think that there might be a short now time for your questions and answers about the Spark Traffic Modeler, if there's like one or two questions.
Yes, thank you, Dan. Are there any questions? While you are thinking of that and writing perhaps in the chat, I might ask, have you modeled this outside Pilsen, Dan, or is Pilsen your focus sort of test case for the modeling?
Thank you for the question. Currently, the development of Spark Traffic Modeler is being funded under the Polyvisu project, which has several pilot areas. And STM Spark Traffic Modeler is being tested in Pilsen region and also in Flanders in Belgium.
Right. Do you see maybe it's too early, but do you see any differences between the two in terms of, do you learn something about the model based on the two different applications?
Not really. Once you get it into this spatial database, the handling by the Spark Traffic Modeler is pretty much the same. What is different is data preparation, because every city, every government region might have a little bit different system in their data, so it might take some manual work to get to know these data, to process them, and actually make them usable for the STM.
Right. So this is this sounds like is what's going to be a main topic then, if you are going to apply this for a city like Nairobi. I see now the question from Karol Jedlicka. He has a question to Davins, one of our participants. Would you be able to join the team to contribute with a local knowledge? This would be extremely useful. Absolutely, a good point. Thank you for asking that to Davins, Carol, because this is exactly what you need, right, Dan? To have local information, knowledge about the local system. As you say, it's very specific for each of the localities.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree. I will get into that more during the second part of the webinar.
Yeah, and I think I don't see any more questions. Don't be shy, guys. You can ask questions. Oh, well, yeah, we just managed to have one question. Thank you, Davins. Are there any existing open source models or frameworks besides yours?
Yes, but I'm not aware about any that is ready to be hosted on server and actually work as ours does. That it can be connected with web graphic user interface and work stably for larger cities.
So your solution is more operational than other solutions that you know of?
We think so.
Yeah. Yeah, you think so. Okay. Yeah. So I guess that answer your questions for now, Davins, and let's go on, Dan.
Right. First, let me introduce you the rest of the team so far. Outside of me, there's also Jans Haniel, which is responsible for the graphic user interface. Also, Frank Tchaikovsky, which is the lead developer of the STM, and will be handling the traffic modeling itself and development of the STM API for City of Nairobi. And there are Jan Bem, which might help us with the API to gather data from OpenStreetMap, and Pavel Blachnik in GIS analysis. And of course, you. What is the work plan? We'd like to create traffic modeling web application for the city of Nairobi with Spark Traffic Model and only open source data. In the workflow, I will guide you through it. In the beginning, you can see the data acquisition, which we would like to rely on OpenStreetMap because it's the most dense spatial openly sourced database that you can possibly find, and it's almost in the whole world. So we don't want to do just app for Nairobi. We actually want to have a workflow that can be then used in different African cities or even anywhere in the world. Ideally, we would like to do this with API and not rely on specific data providers for OSM. Once we have the data, we have to prepare them in GIS into actually the data that we need for traffic modeling, which are road networks and traffic generators. This can be very simply just by using the first category of roads from OpenStreetMap and using the places category with average population. It can be also very complicated if we would consider, for example, schools and malls and census data and new information, ideally from locals that actually know from where cars are going where. And of course, we need this information in some sort of way that can be implemented into the solution, not just in written text, for example, but actually in some software process, some data that can be processed by software automatically. But this is one key place in the workflow that we would love to help. After that, the STM comes into play, which actually creates the orientation destination matrix, as mentioned before. And after that, the traffic model can be created. Ideally, traffic model will be calibrated by real data. Of course, you cannot find measured traffic data in OpenStreetMap. So again, it'd be great to have data that might be used to calibrate it. These can come from some government open programs. It can be processed from cameras. We didn't really go into it. This takes some time. And again, this is what we would like to collaborate on with you. We don't know if it's possible in Nairobi. We don't know how much time it'll take, but we would love to invest the next month into gathering those data and actually using them in the calculation. Once the traffic model is adequate, the STM API will be used to push the data to the web STM application. And that will be it. That will be the final result that we want. It might be iterative. Is it possible that it's possible that we will actually create more versions? Because once we have some simple model, we would like to publish that and then work on a second iteration with, for example, the calibration data and more precise traffic generators. We will see how the work will evolve. To summarize, where at least I see possible place where you can help us and where we would like to collaborate with you is gathering data for better creation of traffic generators. It's also the calibration data of realistic Nairobi traffic, and it's local know-how about where the traffic jams occur, so we can actually test our traffic model if it's realistic or not. And of course, there might be something that I overlooked. There might be some great idea that I didn't think of, and I would like to hear that from you and actually discuss that, and maybe we'll find a different job that we can do together in the next month. All right, that's about the work plan for the hackathon. So again, are there some questions?
Thank you, Dan. And I think we can. Well, you have the demo afterwards, so. We will wait for that, but we do have a question or two here. Well, Davin, he asked, just to pick up where we left. So Davin said that he is joining via tablet, and so he has some difficulties in connecting and communicating with us. But we have a question from Candido, and he asks if it's can connect with existing database. Like, for instance, PostgreSQL. So Carol started to answer it, but I think you can answer it more fully, or you can, go ahead, Dan, and answer the question.
I see that Carol was trying to explain it. I don't know, where are you actually heading with this information? If it's because you want to connect our solution to your database or different database, or if you want to connect some data as an input for our modeling software. I don't know if by connecting you mean connecting for the input or connecting the output. So, but I can probably answer for both. The STM is not currently, as Carol was answering, the license is not finished yet fully, but you can check out our GitHub with the source code, so you can look into it, and it should be possible to connect it to different database. About the input, that I think should be possible. It depends on the details, but we might discuss that later. But of course, we don't rely on the fact that we need data to be sent to us. It's perfectly fine if we can just connect it to database. It will be actually great if we'll find some sort of a input in that data format, because presumably it would be better than just downloading shape files from website.
Okay, thank you, Dan. So still time to ask questions here to Dan, so don't be shy. I have a raised hand here. Okay, let me see. Candido, I'm going to invite you in here, Candido. I will accept your raising your hand, and you will be getting some information out of that. So we will see if he will be succeeding in getting into the room. Meanwhile, while he is working on that, I saw that we had a question from Davins. Existing frameworks and avenues for getting traffic updates and status on a day-to-day basis. That's the framework. Google Maps, proprietary and often data not accessible. 2, Ma3Route, crowdsourcing platform for various traffic updates on social media, usual radio station traffic updates. Okay, so this is perhaps a piece of information for you then, Dan, on data. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I think that would be great to discuss this with Davins. These are good ideas. I'm not entirely sure how to use, for example, Google Maps traffic data. I'm not aware that you can get to those in any different way than just using the web graphic user interface. But perhaps I just don't know, and I would like to get this information. So I think I will definitely look into that after the webinar, and hopefully Davins will be part of our team, and we can discuss this more next week.
Yeah, sounds very promising indeed. So Davins is mentioning crowdsourcing platform, and that was going to be one of my questions as well, because we do have another team, a group here in this hackathon that is addressing citizen science, but also then crowdsource data. And that could potentially be interesting data to be included. Not only, so there's authoritative data. I guess you need that, Dan? Or do you need authoritative data, from traffic authorities, or could you make good solutions without that?
Well, as with any data, it depends on the quality. For the purpose of the hackathon, no, we don't. Of course, it's as a testing solution or as a proof of concept, data that would be guaranteed by government or by some institution is not required. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. No, but because that I guess it depends on the people here. They, of course, are in a better position to get in contact with the right individuals for even asking for this authoritative data. That's one thing. And if they are not, so if they don't have the knowledge, the direct connection themselves, it's easier for you here to find the right contact. So potentially it could be interesting for the authorities to do this experiment. After all, it will be for Nairobi in this case, and it's a Nairobi Inspire Hackathon, and you have this IST conference happening in Nairobi. So there's certain things that might be making it interesting to promote Nairobi. So for the authorities, I'm just mentioning that as a way. So that means, yes, then the Google Maps data is usually not available. Alternatively, would be using Uber movement data instead of Google Maps. Yeah.
I've read it again. Interesting and promising. I'm very much looking forward to looking into that more with Davins. Yeah. Great. Excellent.
Awesome. Yeah. And then Candido, no worries. We know how it is with internet connection. The telcos, you will have telcos as well in this group, in this team. Dan, have you thought about this?
Again, you're kind of teasing the first part of so probably I suggest we move on into the organization team and maybe the live preview.
Yep. Go on.
Yeah, let me turn off my camera again. Right, so on this slide, don't worry about copying these links right now. I will send them via email again. But I would like to ask you to do two things. One is to fill short information about yourself into Google document that can be accessed via the bit.ly link. And the second thing is to join our Skype group. Please log in with your Skype account, and we will continue discussions there. I will still send you an email with these two links and with me asking you to fill the document and join the Skype conversation. But after that, I think we will continue to communicate via the Skype group because it might be more swiftly and we can do group conversation. And I think it'll be because there's only 1 month, so I don't think that we can just send emails for two weeks and to find some time. I think it would be great to just start Skype conversation next week. About the time next week, I'm still not sure. I still have to get some additional info about my schedule, but I will let you know in the email that I will send.
Great.
Okay, and I think Bente, we do have time for the live preview. So
yes, let's dive in. And just a warning, first of all, in case something crashes, I just want to say thank you so much for your active participation here. And you got the lead from Dan just now, so for the continuation. So you will show it from your... Yeah.
All right, so you should be seeing a traffic model of the city of Pilsen.
Yes, we do.
Hopefully. And what I can do now is to close any road that I would like to actually test what would happen if I would close that road. Or I can actually create change different attributes of the roads as well, and also see the different behavior. So let me try to test that by closing this road here. So I will just add new event. I will select the road that I want to close, and I will change the communication speed to 0. And I will compute the model. And currently it's being run on, it's being sent to a server. And in a couple of seconds, we should be able to see the changes in the traffic as the model is calculated and the data are being sent from server back to my computer and shown in the web graphic user interface. So I don't know if you noticed the changes, but people are actually switching from going by the road that I selected because I selected only the way going north if you're driving on the right side of the road, so going up. And now they have to change a different track, which is going south and then east around the area. I can show a different example, but this is basically it. It allows you to calculate different traffic scenarios in the matter of seconds. And then you can actually find out if some constructions are, for example, possible to do in the same time or not. And it allows you to test your theories and share them with your colleagues within a city, within your region, and then hopefully make better decision about traffic.
Yes. Exciting indeed. So with that, I see, Carol is answering. So Candido asked if this demo you showed, if it's available online, and it is, if I'm not mistaken, right, Dan?
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
As Carol said, yeah. So sorry, yeah, right. Because the chat will not be accessible for people once the webinar is reposted, right? So we should sum up what's happening in the chat.
Yeah, so I will see the chat is recorded, so we can get the information about, we can pick up on the comments afterwards for sure. And you have you have a workspace? Well, you have set up the infrastructure for dialogue with your team, so you can just follow up there, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. So yeah, I can share you the link and you can test it for yourself.
Yeah.
But as Carol is saying in the chat, be patient. It takes several seconds at this stage. So don't rush it. Yeah, wait. It actually says model is computing and getting the results. So don't click on anything if that's happened.
Yeah.
But as you can see, it seriously takes only a couple of seconds. It doesn't take more.
Excellent. Very exciting. I think this is, like you said, it's an interesting problem, or is a problem and challenge that every city around the globe has. So this is a meaningful work to be involved in this with you. Okay, so with that, I see that we have reached the clock of 12:30 here locally. And I think we are ready to go on in this team then. Thank you so much for a very informative and good presentation of the topic. It's even possible for us who are not experts to follow. And I wish you the best of luck in working in this team.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing the webinar.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. And I will see you in Nairobi for those who are going there. Meanwhile, there will be a lot of action going on the internet and the planforall.eu website. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.